I like to discuss meditation postures and specifically how it's such an important thing to our practice, and yet many people get it wrong because they get their idea of what it means to sit in meditation posture from social media, the news, advertisements, and mostly how that's portrayed is not how you actually sit when you meditate, or is not the best way to sit when you meditate. And for those of you who are new to the channel, my name is Martin. I lived as a Buddhist monk in Asia for 6 years. And I spent most of that time living in meditation centers, sitting or doing walking meditation. And I spent thousands upon thousands of hours sitting. And I have seen probably, I'm not going to say 10,000 thousands of people, but thousands of people meditating. Maybe 10,000 people actually. I've been to a lot of centers. And when they sit, it's not how we view sitting in the West. And I think the main reason for this is that we get it wrong. We get this idea when you sit, we have a feeling of, I want to be portrayed a certain way. It's important I sit the right way, or you sit down and like, what do other people think about me? And so we copy how we see people sit on YouTube or in the news. And that usually is sitting in the lotus position. We sit with some kind of, I think they're called mudras, with your hands, a posture. And honestly, the centers I went to, people would sit and do walking meditation 8 to 15 hours per day would be like the average of what people meditated. And no one, I mean no one sat like that for a prolonged period of time. Someone might do it in the beginning if they came to the retreat, but that's just not how you sit. Because imagine sitting like this for 10 hours per day. You're gonna get calluses on your fingers. You simply cannot sit that much with that posture. It's uncomfortable, and it just doesn't benefit you in any way. Now, I know there's a lot of traditions where they say that gives you more energy and stuff, and I tried it, and honestly, it just doesn't make much of a difference. If you believe it, and if you're really into that, then sure, maybe it does. But ultimately, it doesn't really make a big difference. Same thing with other really popular belief is that you need to sit in the lotus position, because the lotus position is the creme de la creme of meditation postures. And I've had a lot of people who actually ask me, well, I can't meditate because I'm not able to sit in the half lotus even, or the lotus position. So is there any point in me meditating? Should I just stretch first? And I'm like, oh my goodness. People get it so wrong because the main thing to focus on is you want to feel relaxed, focused, and stable. And the posture can also change the energy that you bring to the meditation. And let me go into that into more detail. So when it comes to having a good posture for energy levels, imagine if you're coming to sit and you're very tired, and you do a posture where you lean into your sofa and you're gonna go like this. Oh, I'm gonna sit, I'm gonna meditate. That's not going to give you much energy, and it's more likely that you'll fall asleep, or that you simply won't have enough energy to focus on your object of meditation. Or if you sit in a sofa or in a bed or something where you're just too comfortable, or you can do meditation lying down, same there. If you sit up normally, like just cross-legged, or even in a chair, if you sit in a chair without back support, that gives you quite good energy. If you have a back support, then all of a sudden it's a little bit less. There are certain ways where you can fold your legs underneath you and sit on a stool. That gives you a little bit more energy. I think it's called the diamond position. You can even stand up or walk if you have really low energy and you need to have more energy in your sitting. So the posture does bring with it a certain amount of tension or energy or focus, depending on what you do. But it's not always you want to have as much as possible, because that depends on, again, what you want to do. The other thing is that even though you just sit for 20 minutes, it's good to, from the beginning, think, could I sit like this for 10 hours? Is this reasonable to sit like this? And I think a lot of people actually ruin their knees because they overstretch, or they get into postures that simply aren't good for them, that they cannot sit in. And so by doing that, they hurt their knees. They just stop their meditation too early because they have too much pain. And pain can be a good thing in meditation, for sure. But especially in the beginning, there's no reason to give us more than we need. So it should feel stable, and it should feel comfortable, meaning that if you try to meditate in your bed, that's not stable. You want to feel that you have a solid surface underneath you, so you feel solid like a rock when you're sitting, not in a sofa, not on a bed or a very soft cushion, or yeah. I mean, if you have nothing else, obviously that's a perfect. It works, but it's just not really good. The other thing is you want to have a straight spine. I think this is one of the most important things, is to try to keep your spine as straight as possible. You should be relaxed, meaning your shoulders should hang down. You shouldn't like tense up. Like I personally believe when you sit like this and like do like all these strange, it just, that's more for show than actually giving you something useful. And I'm sure there's people in the comments are going to go like, oh no, that's, you just don't know what you're talking about. Again, I've seen tens of thousands of people who sit and meditate for really long periods of time, and just no one sits like that. Everyone just takes their hands and they put them on top of each other. They recommend you to not interlace your fingers, because that's going to start hurting your fingers after a while. So just think relaxed, stable, and something that gives you focus, not twisting yourself into a pretzel in some weird posture, or it's just not important. Ultimately, as long as you can sit in that posture for a prolonged period of time, it's probably a good posture. And also not hurt yourself, because that goes into the comfortable part. So sitting in meditation isn't complicated. It really isn't. There are some postures there that help, but generally if they're too complicated, or if it's something you cannot do, just skip it. If you stretch really hard and try to get into the lotus position because you think it's so important, then you're probably just creating more ego and more sense of self, which is a thing that you want to get rid of, because now you can sit in that posture and you want to have a photo shoot or something. So real meditators, usually they just sit cross-legged, like just cross-legged, and they have their hands folded in front of them, because that's just the most ergonomically, comfortably relaxed, stable posture where you feel good focus and energy levels. Now there are things that with the posture that you can vary, and that there are different postures. And if you want to learn more about that, because you think that, okay, I can't just sit down, I want to actually know how to sit without making it complicated, without coming up with these crazy ideas, there's a video right here where I go into detail about how we sit, and I go into more detail about the diamond posture, sitting, standing, walking, what they bring with it. And I highly recommend you to watch that next, if that's something you're interested in.